investment in a blockchain wine company. How does that work?
So we invested in an Israeli company called VinX, Vin for vino.
Right.
And what they're doing is using the blockchain for two things. One, to prove the provenance of wine. So much of wine that's sold, particularly to collectors, it's hard to prove the origin.
Right.
To know that when you buy an old bottle, you're actually getting old, legitimate wine in your old bottle and not new wine in what looks like an old bottle.
In fact, there's been a history of scandal there, and corruption. So that's interesting.
Yeah, I mean, there's a great documentary called Sour Grapes,
Yes.
which tells that whole story.
Right.
So VinX is using blockchain to show the provenance of a bottle, that it came from a certain vineyard with a certain grape, and it stays on that bottle. And if I'm buying it, I could know that I'm getting the real McCoy and not some fake.
How is it identified on the bottle?
They'll have a code, a QR scan that you can, know what it is.
And nobody else will be able to replicate that.
No,
Yeah.
no. I mean, it'll be on the blockchain. The other thing they're doing is using it to sell wine futures. So today, particularly, famous vineyards get their grapes, harvest them, they create the juice, and before they mix them, they sell futures on their upcoming wine. Well, who gets to buy those?
Right.
It's a select group of middlemen. The wine industry is full of middlemen. From the vineyard to the ultimate consumer,
Right.
there are a lot of people in between. What VinX is going to do is let anyone who's interested, a wine connoisseur, buy a token that lets them purchase a wine future from a particular vineyard, and then they will be able to get that bottle when it's ripe.
So it opens up that market to the general populace. It's almost like Wall Street, right? There's kind of like this little crony cohort here that that's got like advantage over the average person out on the street. So that's true in the wine world also, especially with these famous brand wines. They're very coveted and in limited supply. So now you're saying that this can kind of open that up to the general populace.
It's going to open up the general populace, and think of what that does. You cut out middlemen, you cut out cost.
Yeah.
And the other thing it's going to do for the vineyards is they're going to know their ultimate consumer, giving them a chance to market to them, to create product for them, get feedback from them. One of the great things about the blockchain technology is it cuts out all these middlemen, whether it's brokers in the financial markets, negotiants in the wine business, people that are the mailman in voting. If you're doing an absentee ballot,
Right.
they get cut out. You don't have to trust them anymore. You can have person-to-person interaction. One of our goals at Medici is to use blockchain to rehumanize commerce. That's kind of a big, lofty, audacious goal. But what we're really trying to do is say people should be able to have a digital handshake that's like the handshake we had when we were kids and we'd swap baseball cards and we knew you hold yours, I'll hold mine, and then we let go and there they are. That's what we're doing with blockchain in a digital way.
That's a great characterization, because it used to be, my handshake's my bond, be between two people. It's not a third hand in between, trying to put the hands together, right?
Right.
And now this is the digital handshake, which is kind of a really almost evolutionary in nature.
I really think it is evolutionary in nature, but it takes us back to a simpler time.
Yeah.
And one of the benefits when you can strip out these middlemen is you strip out cost, you strip out time, you strip out mistakes, fraud.
You're right.
And at the end of the day, consumers should be buying things for less, and manufacturers may be getting more. Right. You think about that bottle of wine. If every negotiant and everyone in the middle is taking a piece, it's not as efficient. And if the winery can sell for more and the consumer can buy for less and they both win, that's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, it's like a far side simplicity, right? In other words, there's all this complexity that has to happen to get to that very simple little far side transaction, which is to me, the fundamental understanding people need to have, because it can get very complicated trying to understand this. But in the end, if you can understand a handshake between two people, you understand blockchain.
You understand blockchain,
Yeah.
and you understand the immediacy. Today with brokers, there's all this time in between it. In the stock market, for years, we've been settling trades at trade plus 3 days, and then it turned to T plus 2. And how did it go from trade plus 3 to trade plus 2 days? Not through any great technological advances, just by working faster.
Right.
This is kind of a forklift upgrade where we can go to the trade is the settlement.
Yeah.
It can trade immediately because the blockchain allows for a smart contract so that when one party's money is committed and the price meets the ask and the other party's stock is committed, boom, the smart contract just settles.
Is
the
this
trade.
why you call the platform T0?
It is why we've called our portfolio company there T0, trade plus 0. The trade is the settlement.
Wow. Almost unimaginable even a few years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is like, very exciting stuff to contemplate where this could lead. What else? So you are also in property rights, you said, right? Now, I just saw, I think, a recent press release about Rwanda. Can you talk about what's going on there?
Sure. So in most of the developing world, property rights are not well registered on a public ledger.
Right.
In the United States, if you're buying a home or mortgaging your home, they go down to the county recorder, they can see who owns it. There's work to be done, there's title insurance and all that. But at least there's an official record. In much of the developing world, there are ledgers of who owns what, but it's not an official government ledger. It might be the tribal chieftain or the local co-op or the mining company or some extra legal entity. What we're doing is trying to put all of those ledgers on the blockchain so that then they can be immutable, so that when a person who owns property wants to sell it, subdivide it, borrow against it, they can more easily prove that they own it. And so our portfolio company, Medici Land Governance, has been working in countries in Africa. Rwanda is the most recent announcement, where we're going to help digitize their land registry, so what the government has, but also then be able to pull in these extra legal records. And there may be some conflicts, and the courts can figure that out, but create a record so we can say, this is the truth. And then once you have the truth, it creates ownership. And you think about, if you own property but can't prove that, you don't fix it up. You can't borrow against it. And it really makes that capital dead capital.
Right.
When I think of the entrepreneurs I know, most of us have built businesses with a second mortgage on the house. Leveraging a property right, making that dead capital live capital
Right.
that we could grow something into. If we can do that in the developing world and make that dead capital live capital, that's more useful to humanity than all the aid the West gives to developing countries.